Hello, my name is Michael Nolan. Today I'm going to talk about world-class sales, how to compete for and win profitable business. That's what today's subject is about. So, the outline of it. First of all, we have the 4 C's of sales strategy. This is followed by the voice of the customer. Then we have competitive analysis. And then this is followed by product analysis. And finally, customer analysis. So as you can see, there's a lot of analysis involved here. So, first of all, the 4 C's of sales strategy. What is this all about, you're asking? Well, here's a graphical example of it. You can see in the chart here, the community is at the center of the 4 C's. And then we have the company down here in the bottom right-hand side. Competitors, competition on the left-hand side of the bottom. And then customers, all interacting with the community, all making their own force on it, and what the sales strategy is going to be are all influenced by these things. So we have to look at them all equally so in terms of strengths and weaknesses of your company versus all of these things. So let's start by looking at the company profile. On the chart here, you will see that there are certain details laid out. You can make this a lot more detailed if you want, but this is just a simple one to show you what an example of one is like. So first of all, we have is location, your company location, number of employees. You know all these details, but we want to compare these details with what the competition are doing and where the customers are. Turnover, profit, you'll know those figures. Then, what are your key products? You list them out. Maybe the not so important products, the secondary products, you then list out. And for the key products, you go through what are the good points in terms of the product, the manufacturing process of the product, the sales and management area of the product, and the finance/stroke profitability of it. So where are the strengths involved in that, the good points, and down here we have where are the weaknesses. So for each product, you list the product out, and across the line you go the product strengths and then product weaknesses. So the name of the product goes in here, and then the strengths and then the weaknesses. From that, you then look at the actions. What actions are necessary? So you're trying to identify the key actions, the story it's telling you in terms of the strengths, the weaknesses of this. And you're trying to say, well, what do I need to do? What do I need to change? What key actions will I take? So you start listing those down. Under product, what are the key actions? Under manufacturing process, what are the key actions? Then under sales and marketing, what are the key actions again? And finally, finance, key actions. So key actions in this case might be to develop new products. That this one's getting a little bit tired and customers are not buying as much as they used to. It might be that the manufacturing process is a little bit dated and needs to be improved. So different ways of looking at these things and trying to build them up. So then you go on to the customer profile. Company name here first of all, and location. So you start to get a feel for where all the customers are. Number of employees, contact details, and then turnover, profit. You may not know these things, but they may be known to you roughly. That's why we have estimated in here, ESTD. So you may not know the exact figure, but you might have a rough idea. Again, key products. What did they buy last year? What are they buying this year? And seeing what stories are told there in terms of, is there some products they're increasing sales on, others they're reducing down? And you're trying to see, well, what stories are coming out. Finally, up at the top right-hand corner here, you have rating. So you have to look at it in terms of how good is this company to us, how important. If it's one of the top, say, 10, 20% of the companies you have, you'd give it an A rating. It's one you really want to look after. So you have to focus in on the best ones, and then B for the next 30%, say, and C for the rest. So rate them A, B, C like that. Then we look at the competitor profile. And what does that look like? Company name here, obviously, location again, number of employees will probably be estimated, turnover is estimated, profit. Key products, secondary products like your own one, and what are the good points, what are the weak points. So on the key products, you're looking at where are they strong versus your company. Under products, where are they strong? If you know about their manufacturing processes, it might be only reputation. With these things, you get a lot of information, what they call anecdotally, by talking to customers, by talking to suppliers, by even talking to competitors in an informal environment. You can pick up little pieces of information, pulling them all together then when you're doing this review. And you'll have a lot of information built up gradually. So all of this is building up a picture of each of the competitors, each of the customers, and then using that into an analysis situation. So the community profile here, and the community profile is looking at the society, the economics, the social and technological, as we called it in a different lesson, the PEST, political, economic, social and technology. So what are the political factors that are changing over the last year? What's changed? What's different? How is it working? Economic factors. Again, has the economy expanded or is it contracting? Or is it just about the same as before? So you're worried, I don't want to grow too much too fast in case I outgrow my customers. The social factors. Is there unrest in the area? Is there, changes in legislation for employment, things like that? Technology, how is that changing? Is the existing technology much the same, or is there developing of new technologies coming through? So you're looking at developing of new technologies, cutting edge technologies, totally new stuff coming off the horizon, and you're trying to say, well, where is this going? What's it going to do? And you're building up your profile on that. Then we have the voice of the customer. This is an important part because this is where you're trying to get either your immediate customer or maybe even the end user information on them. How do they think? How do they operate? And what you're ultimately trying to do is to find out what makes them tick, what makes them buy from somebody. And also what can be very useful for this is to identify what they want. They may not always know what they want, and it might be a lot of unsaid messages coming through that you're picking up with this voice of the customer. So depending on the situation, the purpose is to identify the sector and customer needs. And the process you use is either interview, survey, observation, or focus. Focus groups there is where you get a number of people together to talk about the product, the competition, and then to see what stories are coming out in terms of what they know about your company, your products, versus the competition. Observation, that might be standing in a supermarket or a shopping centre and seeing how people buy your product, how they buy the competition product, and looking for the subliminal messages coming through as to where this is going and how can we learn from what's happening here. Surveys might be formal surveys of customers into finding out what they want from you. Interviews will be where you're face to face with the customer, looking at what they want and trying to identify what are their needs. And then need to be organized and professional. With this, you either need to be professional yourself or employ a professional company to do it for you. Possibly might be a better idea because they know what they're doing then. But if you're doing it, you need to be very organized, structured, and professional. Identify competitive analysis criteria. So in doing that, you're looking at what is the criteria we need to do to analyze the competitiveness here. And you need to go into that in great detail. Identify unmet needs in R&D and marketing. That's where you're getting messages you weren't aware of and the customer or the person you're talking to isn't aware of. And you're seeing little things coming through, emerging, and saying, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And over time, you're building up these. So it works very well like that. And then identifying key success factors for the sector. So when you've done a number of these with different customers, you then have an overview and say, well, these are the 3 or 4 important factors that makes the customer buy from me or one of my competition. And you then start to look and say, well, how am I ranking in these? And how can I make these stronger? And that's why you look for the key success factors. Okay, competitive analysis. What's involved in this? What are the differentiators in the sector? Compare yourself with the competition. So that's the first thing you do. In comparing yourself with the competition, you're saying, here's where I have strengths, here's where I have weaknesses, and here's where my main competitors have strengths, and here's where they have weaknesses. And you're trying to get an overview of that and to see, what am I good at? What am I weak at? And then how can I be stronger? Again, you're trying to identify important factors for the sector, looking at it and saying, well, what is really important here? What makes this business tick? What makes this sector tick? What are the competitors focusing in on? So you're looking at those important factors in the sector and saying, where do I compare with those? Are they matching with the company success factors? And how am I doing with that overall? So you rank yourself with competition in terms of being first, second, or third, and so on, depending on the number of competitors. In doing that, you're focusing on highlighting the strong areas, so where you're strong, and then also where you're weak. So you're trying to then focus in to strengthen the weaker areas. You build up on your strengths, and then you strengthen up your weaknesses, so that overall you become more balanced and stronger through the whole process. And then you finally fill competitor profile and the actions to take. So you look at that in terms of what actions do I need to take in relation to my competition? Where do I stand with them? How good am I? And what do I need to do that's different? So this is very important in terms of meeting the competition head on and looking at how they do things. Now here's an example, competitive analysis, a very simple example. You have on the top left-hand side differentiators, then going across your own firm. The competitor 1 is firm 1, competitor 2 is firm 2, and so on. And then coming down from differentiators, you have different descriptions, different areas of the business of where you might make a difference, the differentiators, they call it. So product quality is a differentiator. You'll see some of them are slightly darker than others, and product quality is highlighted. The reason for that is because I'm showing that there's more than just a few differentiators, but I'm picking out for an example of the more important ones on the chart are here in terms of product quality, lead time, price. Then we skip a few and go down to R&D capability, product range. They're the more important ones. And at the very bottom, we work out an average score. And the lower the score, the better. So what we didn't include this time was design, reputation, value, where price and quality are taken into account, the quality of staff, purchasing power, sector importance, market capability. There's probably a lot more you could put in there, but there's no point in having too many. What ones you feel are important are the ones to have in there. So let's go through these one by one. In terms of product quality here, the second line down. What we're saying here is your company is first, firm 1 is third, firm 2 is fourth, and firm 3 is second. So you're the best in terms of quality, in terms of your view of it. Lead time. You're saying, well, we're not quite as good as the best, but we're better than average. So we're second. Firm 1 is best, and then the others will follow that. So that's pretty good. That's not bad at all. Then we have price. Oh, you're not so good on price. Price, you're third. Firm 1 is second. Firm 2 is first, and firm 3 is fourth. So price is an issue here. And obviously, in looking at price, then you have to look at costs. How do we reduce costs to make price more competitive, to be able to drop it and still make money? But that isn't always the case. Sometimes if you have a good product that's better than everybody else and you're giving better service, you can command a slightly better price. So the next one then is R&D capability. And again, you are second here. And then the firm 3 is the first one and firm 2 is third. So you're not doing too bad there. And then we come down to the final one, which is product range. Product range, you're doing reasonably, well, not so good, third actually, and joint first for the first and the third firm. They're both joint first. So not so good there, but overall, at the very bottom, the average score, you're 2.2, which is top, and the firm 1 is 2.2, which is top. Close to it is firm 3, and then firm 2 is the fourth company. So it's saying, yeah, you're pretty good, you're right up there, but you can see from looking at it, you're strong in some areas, you're weak in others, and it's a matter of trying to strengthen up the weaknesses and building on the strengths. Product analysis. This is also something that's important in terms of looking at companies. So product analysis, the first thing you look at is to identify sales / profits for each product. Now, some of these may have to be estimated. For example, if you don't know what the profit of each product is, and you may not, some companies don't, you might have to try and estimate it. So if you have a good idea of the cost of raw materials and say it is 40% of the sales value, and you know labor is 20% of the sales value, you can say then that between those two it's 60%. So there's a gross profit roughly of 40%. And you can use that instead of a profit figure which you don't have accurately. And that's a way of working around it. Estimate difficulty of manufacture. So is it an easy product to make? Do you have quality problems? Is there little niches in it that make it difficult to manufacture? That the tolerances have to be very, very high with the companies you're dealing with as customers? So that you have to look at, is there ways of making money more easily? Is it affecting our reputation? All of these things you have to look at. So you rank the attractiveness of the products using the above data. You estimate the sales of new R&D products. So looking at new R&D products and trying to see, well, how much could we get from them? And to see how they would impact on us. and use the data to prioritize product sales. So having done all of this, you try and focus in on the products that you feel you will make more money on. And it's important to be able to do that and to say, these are the ones that are most profitable for us, so this is where we put the most effort into. Now, here's an example of product analysis. On the top line here, the first line is product, and then sales value, dollars, profit, dollars. Might be estimated, as I said, but even the gross profit figure is good. It's better than nothing. Ease of manufacture. You have to make some sort of judgment call there, and then you rank them, A, B, or C. So, here's one I've cooked earlier. And we're saying under product, part number 2467, sales value $200,000, profit $15,000. Ease of manufacture, well, there's a few small problems, but nothing major. So because of the size of turnover, the reasonable profit, we're calling it A. Part 5964, $500,000 in sales, $25,000 in profit. Profit's reducing a little bit. It's gone from 7.5% in the first one to 5% here. Easy to make though, so it's also down as an A. Part 1452, $50,000, a lot less sales, $5,000, good profit, but difficult to make. So we've put it down as a C because of the low volume and because of the difficulty to make. If you overcame these difficulties to make, it might go up to a B or even an A. Part 2468, $800,000, big volume, 20,000 profit, quite small, some rework required, so we put it down as a B. There are quality issues here, which is affecting the reputation, so you need to look at that more closely. Part 5960, 20,000 in sales, 3,000 in profit. Difficult to make, but we put it as a B because there's reasonable profits there. So that gives you an idea. It is subjective, but it gives you some sort of a structure to analyze what products to try and sell. And also to then look at what products do we need to either improve the quality of or stop making. Customer analysis. So in customer analysis, again, we break things down by A, B, C. It's a nice way of doing things in terms of saying, these are customers that are really important to us, the A customers. That's the top 20%. And then 20% in customers, 80% in sales. That's what's called a Pareto analysis. And it's a very useful way of looking at companies, looking at products, looking at things like that. B, we're saying, is 15% of sales, 30% of customers. So 95% of your sales are coming from 50% of your customers, looking at those two. And then finally we have C, where it's 5% of sales and 50% of customers. And you adjust for profitability levels where some companies and some customers, there might be smaller volumes, but the profitability is higher in the products they're buying from you. So they might be a B originally, and then you might put them up to an A because of the higher profits involved, even though the volumes are smaller. You'd also be looking for ways to try and see if you can sell more products to them. But they're buying good products from you at the moment and giving you good profits. Adjust for difficulty level. Slow paying, complaining, cannot make up their mind what they want. These are difficulties that are caused to you and your staff in dealing with customers. And if you have a difficult customer, it may not be worth doing business with them, particularly if they're a slow payer and maybe as a point of going out of business. So again, we look at customer analysis in terms of an example of this, and customer, sales value in dollars, profit in dollars. Again, you estimate it if you don't know the actual figure. in terms of a gross profit figure, and difficult to deal with. How difficult are they? And then rank them A, B, or C. So, in this one, going from the top left, we have customer A, $600,000 in sales, 30,000 in profits, no trouble at all, so they're a straight A. They're an A student. Customer B, 400,000 sales. Profit is 25,000, which is actually better in percentage terms, and they're a great company to deal with. You really enjoy working with them. So they're also an A. Customer C then. Customer C is only $200,000 in sales, 15,000 in profits, but they're demanding. They're always looking for more, never quite satisfied. So you have them down as a B rather than an A, even though the profitability is quite good. Customer D, 40,000 in sales, 6,000 in profit, slow to pay. Now, you may need to try and get a copy of their accounts for last year and see if there's reasons why they're slow to pay, and to be looking at maybe stopping doing business with them, or at least getting them to pay cash up front for any future business if that has got to a serious stage. So you have to manage those. It's managing your debtors, which we covered under finance and financial management. But we put it down here as a C because slow to pay. Customer E, 30,000 in sales, 3,000 in profit, which is very, very good, 10%, but they're demanding again, so we put them down as a B. Customer F, 25,000 in sales, 5,000 in profit, complaints, lots of complaints, never happy. So is it worth doing business with them? You have to decide that. Sometimes it's not. Some people will say never turn away a sale. I would say never turn away a profitable sale. And if you have a lot of complaints, the company's never happy, it's difficult to make money in situations like that. So maybe it's better to drop the company over time and maybe do it by increasing prices so that you're not turning them away, but they don't want to do business with you anymore. So the next slide here is sales forecasting. Purchasing and production need forward visibility. What do we mean by that? Well, if you're going to have a lean operation and the companies are going to be working well with you, you need to know what they're going to want in terms of sales, and you're going to be able to tell purchasing, you're going to be able to tell production, production planning, finance. All these people need to know, particularly in the production and purchasing. And so forward visibility of sales is very important, trying to get your sales forecasting as accurate as possible over time. So what's your past history there like? Have you always met your targets, or have you loads of excuses as to why you can't reach your targets? So think about that one. It's good to set realistic targets, but not easy ones that are easily met. You have to push them. So current prospects for the week, for the month, whatever way is best for you, and you do it like that. And then you say, what are our prospects like for next week? And then next week you look back and say, how good were we last week? Or how good were we last month? And look at that and say, yes, we met our targets, we were ahead of our targets, it was great. Or no, because. But if there's that because each month, maybe you need to be looking at, are your expectations too high? And become more realistic in your expectations. Rate prospects using the ABC classification again. So the ones that you really think are going to turn up trumps for you in the particular month or week, you classify as A. If you're a little doubtful about some of them, you might put them as a B, and then the long shots, they're the C. So long shots, you don't put much effort into. A and B, yes you do, you put a lot of effort into those, into making sure that you get them. Regularly review actual versus forecast. So as I said, you go through the week, you go through the month, and you say, have I met my targets? What was the target? What did I achieve? The target was 10,000 units. I sold 9,500. So I'm 500 short. Not too bad, 5%. So next month you're looking again, I target's 10,000 and I sold 11,000. That's ahead of target, so I've pulled back what I lost last month. Great. And when you're doing that month by month, you're building up a picture of what's happening. So feedback to customers, that's talking about finding out what they want and feeding back to them the availability that you have of products and the opportunity that you can offer them in terms of the availability of products. So you're analysing previous sales history with companies, with customers, and you're saying to yourself, how did we achieve sales of X with them before? We say 100,000 last year. And this year we're only at 80,000, it's almost at year end. So what's different, what's changed? You need to probe the customer to find out, well, what's happened there? And you find out that the customer is under pressure with their customers and haven't sold as much. So therefore, they haven't bought from you. It's not that they transfer their business elsewhere. So that's not too bad. And you work on that. Chart sales to customers. Is there a pattern? Discuss with key customer. So you talk to the customer and you see what the pattern is and you say, what are the issues here? And if there's problems, you try and resolve the problems with the customer. If there isn't, if it's just that business is quiet, there's not a lot you can do. One thing you possibly could do is look for opportunities or ways of helping them improve their business. If you heard of business that they could possibly get, you put them in touch with it. Work towards demand-led production, no stocks. This is going back to the whole lean concept again. And I'd put the emphasis for companies that are not doing lean at the moment, work towards it. Don't go straight into not holding stock because you'll have stock outs and that's a bad thing. But you have to see how can we work towards that? How can we improve our production systems, improve our forecasting of sales, improve our getting reliable information from customers, and then that you're backtracking all the way back to the customer, what are they saying? And that will allow you to develop systems which will reduce and eventually eliminate stocks. Discuss intercompany issues with customers and suppliers. So if there's issues which are affecting either customers or suppliers, or in some rare cases maybe both, discuss with them what these issues are and see if a resolution can be found in achieving that. So this is a very important thing to try and do. Promotional activity. Use a diary to plan over the year. Very important. Simple thing. Just buy a small or a big diary and use that to plan out your marketing activities. It's just for marketing, nothing else, so it doesn't get cluttered with anything else. Key activities, shows or events, etc. So what are the key activities? What events are you going to have? What shows are you going to go to? Try and spread them throughout the year so that you're starting to keep a profile of your company out in the marketplace. Plan customer activity, say a golf outing, going to a football match, or articles in local magazines or in trade magazines. Again, plan them over the year. So you're building up your diary, your marketing diary, and seeing how we can use that. Spread the activities over the year. So in other words, not having them concentrated in the first quarter of the year or the third quarter of the year. And know when customers will not be available, when they're busy, and you don't have too many activities around then. Just be conscious of those things. Capture feedback from activities. So when you hold an activity and you have customers at it, try and get feedback. It may be just verbal feedback, but try and write down the comments that are made. It may be that you can give them a sheet of paper with just a very simple questionnaire, short questionnaire, that'll take no more than 1 minute, 2 minutes to fill out, and has mostly yes, no answers. And you might get some feedback on those. It's important because you want to see how successful this activity is. So when you're trying to do this, you make sure that it's relevant to the customer and useful from your point of view. Targeting customers, key competitor customers. So with key competitor customers, you're talking about identifying customers you're not dealing with, but your competitor is. And you start trying to build a relationship with these customers to see if you can start with pulling a little business away from them and building that up gradually over the months and years so that it's significantly more. So it's an important aspect to try and do. The next one then is set a goal of 1 or 2 customers per operating period. So again, we'll say per month. 2 new customers a month. If you have 50 customers or 100 customers, getting 2 a month would be absolutely fantastic. That would be a great achievement. So it depends on the number of customers you have. But to have some new customers coming in all the time, because no matter how good you are, you lose some for whatever reason. So it's good to have new customers coming through. And it's good to have a target each month. What have you done, or what have your sales team done to try and get these new customers in? That's a very important activity. What are they looking for? So what are the customers looking for? And trying to meet that need then, whatever their needs are in terms of meeting those customers. And how can you service this need? So you look at servicing the customers, what way can you best service them that will satisfy their needs? And then what is the attack plan of trying to win over these customers? So you need to look at that in great detail and work out a strategy or an attack plan in terms of winning these customers over. It's a very important activity. Then we come to customer service. What is important here is to key customers is individuality. They want to be treated like unique, like they're the most important person in the world, the most important company in the world. They want you to make them feel like that. So what do you have to do to make them feel like that? You need to work that out and to make sure that they feel special. You need to identify the measures to monitor your performance against these important issues. So it's not just saying that you're going to do it. If you've identified issues that the company wants a particular thing, for example, they want their raw materials brought in a certain way. You at the moment have too much packaging on them, it's a problem for them. So they have to take off this extra packaging, and it's a problem for waste disposal. It's a problem for getting it onto their machines. So you look at ways of trying to address that issue, and you then say, how am I meeting these needs? So have I improved the packaging on the raw materials that I'm presenting to the company? And is this working from their point of view, from the customer's point of view? And as part of that, you get feedback to the customer, your improvements that you've made in these key areas, and then you enter into a dialogue to develop further relationships and say, okay, we've done that. Now, what's next? How can we improve further with yourselves? What's your next needs? What needs to be done? And that way you're building up a dialogue, you're building up a relationship also, because by doing that, they're saying, oh, he wants to know what I want. That's fantastic. So that's basically it in terms of the sales and marketing. Thank you very much. Goodbye.